Hey guys, what's going on? It's Brandon. I'm excited to interview Nathan Latka, how to be a capitalist without any capital, B2B SaaS interview legend. He's interviewed hundreds of B2B SaaS companies. He tracks everything that they do, CAC, revenue growth, ARR, MRR, you name it. We're gonna interview what are his top sales secrets that he learned from interviewing all of these CEOs and top founders. So stay tuned and share in the comments below anything that you'd like us to ask during the interview. Thank you. Welcome to Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. And I'm thrilled, honored, humbled, and grateful to have with me my good friend Nathan Latka. Nathan, welcome to New York City.
You should stop right there. That's what as good as it's going to get.
Dude, this guy's yeah, it is, right? So, How to Be a Capitalist Without Any Capital, one of the best-selling new books out on the market. People are calling you the new Tim Ferriss, a better-looking, better-aged Tim Ferriss.
Tim, don't come after
and
Sorry.
He's also got the Latka database, which shares all of the metrics that no one's got. CAC, MRR, ARR, growth rate, customers, churn. You go deep in your 20-minute podcast. It's one of the top podcasts in the world. So we are thrilled to have you on the show today. Thank you again for taking the time.
Yeah,
so
I told you can only do this interview if you ask me very uncomfortable questions
yes.
that no one else even knows to ask me. So make them good.
So let's take it to the top.
Okay, good.
So you interview all the top B2B SaaS CEOs.
Yep.
You see the good companies, the bad companies, and you even cut people off when they're starting to make bullshit metrics up and you're like, the math, we got to shut this interview down, it doesn't make sense. And you promote the guys that are just absolutely crushing it. The whole audience has been asking me, you got to interview Latka and you got to find out what are the secrets to the top performing B2B SaaS companies that you interview?
Yep.
So you've interviewed what, thousands, hundreds?
3,000 now.
3,000.
Yeah, 3,000. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, a lot of it. So when you're selling SaaS, a lot of what you have to focus on is what the actual price point is, right? So the biggest mistakes I see a lot of early founders make, call it less than $1 million in annual recurring revenue, is they will try and put too much touch on a $30 a month sale, and the economics don't work. So one of the things I encourage every new founder to do when you're launching your company, be it software or anything else, is do the math. Look at your price point that you're going to launch with, and then multiply by what you think the total amount of customers are for your product. When you multiply those two together, if the revenue is not interesting, you got to change something. You got to either invent a product that appeals to more customers, or increase your price point, quadruple, 10x it, and focus on less customers. But you want to make sure you get your customer count plus your price point kind of gut instinct right in terms of multiplying them together.
Got it. So the companies that you've interviewed, the ones that are seeing 100, 200, 300, 500,000% growth, who may have nailed down the price to market, who may have nailed down whether it's mid-market, enterprise, customer acquisition, and CAC, like, what are the biggest trends that you're seeing the top of the top? Like, the book is Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. So when you look at the data and the top performers, what are the biggest things, the secrets that you're seeing that they're doing that the bottom 99% aren't?
Yeah, well, look,
from an execution perspective.
Sure. I mean, the one thing that the bottom 99%, they don't even know to focus on this or ask the question just because they've never talked to CEOs that are really at the top and killing it. And by at the top and killing it, I mean folks like Manny Medina at Outreach, who added $10 million in net new bookings last quarter. It was a record for them. They just passed $60 million in ARR, growing nicely. What they all focus on is the activation metric they have to get their new customers to do in their software, which is most directly correlated to increasing their pricing plan. So if someone's signing up and paying you $1,000 a month and you're based off number of contacts, let's say you're an email marketing company like MailChimp, you've got to figure out how to get them to 1,000 contacts in the first 20 days to drastically increase your ability to upsell. And so these guys up there at the top, I mean, you're seeing net revenue retention rates of, call it like 150%. And all that means is if a year ago you had customers that were all together paying you 10 grand a month, it would mean that you maybe churn $1,000 off that, but you upsell that same customer base up to 20 grand total. So your net revenue from that cohort goes from 10 grand to 19 grand. That's 190%, we'll call it 100%-ish, but above 100% net revenue retention. And that's what the folks at the top are doing. They understand the activation metric and they make sure their pricing correlates to that to drive almost automatic upsells.
Wow, I love it. So you got to understand the usage, the activation, the onboarding, the education. How does
you do this, by the way, right? You're building an email tool or something?
Yeah, so Seamless.AI, we find emails and phone numbers for everyone. Half my team here is on the marketing squad, and we're trying to figure that out right now. We're trying to figure out, because we've got luckily net negative revenue churn, 0.5%. It was a percent a month ago. So we're watching all of our barometrics data all the time because guys like you taught us we got to do that.
Yeah.
And when it comes on your end, like
people hate you though, right? Because you put my phone number all over the internet, right? They'll go, we want to get Nathan. So then you say, oh, well, we have Nathan as a lead. Here's his phone number, right?
Yeah. So
He
what?
says with a smile. Okay, go ahead.
What do we do? So coach us, because everyone that's listening like me, I'm like, shit, I need to figure out, like, is it they research 30 leads? Is it they research 100 people? Like, how do people figure out the usage to activation to then like, we know how fast we close customers. We know all of the data, and probably a lot of people have that, but how do you track usage and activation? Like, what would be your execution plan to do that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you have to remember is nobody actually knows anything, even if they just sold for like $1 billion and they want to project all their great advice on you to make them feel good. No one really knows anything, right? So ultimately, like, we don't either. The best way to figure out like your actual activation metric is, guess for a year, and at the end of the year, go into Stripe and export your customer list, and then sort by who has paid the most versus who has paid the least. And then the top people up, the top 10 that have paid you the most, just email them and say, we're canceling your account, right? ... That's the subject line.
Love that.
The email is, unless we can understand why the hell you're paying us so much money. That's the text. And then basically they will write back and say, oh my God, please don't cancel our account. Like, we need this because boom. Like that boom, that is your activation metric. You then have to align your entire development team, your entire sales team to get people to hit that boom, like in the first X days, right, across X team members, across this many use cases. And that's how you figure it out.
Okay, got it. So it's not necessarily tracking historical behavior pre-purchase. It's all about like literally the customer interviews and the segmenting those interviews.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. You want to just segment your customer base and then upsell. I mean, one of the questions that I tell everyone, we're in planning now for next year. I think a lot of people are, or at least next quarter. Ask your team in a strategy session, hey guys, let's say something catastrophic happens and we can't add any new customers. We can only grow the business by growing our current customers.
Okay.
And have them brainstorm around that. And that's a really effective way to figure out how to drive upsell revenue.
That's smart. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. And the audience also wants to know the next top secret real quick.
Yeah.
So, okay, we got to nail activation. If there was one more secret that you would tell your 20-something-year-old self, just starting off a new SaaS company, what would your top second secret be? Charm.
When you have a comb over like this, you can basically get anything you want. So you need to be able to charm like you've never charmed before, whether this is doing webinar sales or cable shows or, telling your publisher, I'm not putting this book out. And by the way, this is Random House. So like not an easy publisher to push around. I said, I'm not releasing this thing unless my face is on the cover. And they go, Nathan, you're nobody. And I said, you're right, but I'm going to be a somebody. My face is on the cover. So you got to charm. That's the way to do it.
Thank you, Nathan.
Brandon,
really
thank
appreciate
you guys.
it.
Appreciate
Cheers.
it. Thanks, guys.